for the low, low price of free. Let's head up all the way up to the Northeast, where Paul is calling in from Massachusetts. How you doing up today, Paul?
Very good, thank you.
What can I do for you, Paul?
Larry, I got a question. I'm considering buying a 2005 Toyota Highlander. It's got 36,000 miles on it, and it's got the little four-cylinder in it. Now, I've seen articles on the internet, which we all know must be true, about problems with this engine's piston rings and head bolts. Are you familiar with any of that?
I really haven't had any problems with the pistons in that engine or the rings. Those engines actually hold up pretty good. And believe it or not, we have very few problems with the head bolts. Now, the head bolts aren't the problem. If you read in depth on what the situation was with those, what it is, they've got these steel head bolts going into this aluminum block's threads. And they've got literally pretty much too much torque on the bolts. And what will happen is over time, the torque itself can actually pull the threads in the block. And if that happens, you got to pull the cylinder head, and then we go and we got a kit just for those engines where we go in and we put what they call time certs in the block itself. Now, these threads are recessed way down in the block, so this is a little bit of a process to do, and of course, cylinder head has to come off the motor to do it. But we actually drill and then we tap new threads all the way in the bottom, and we put this steel set of threads in there called a time cert. It's threaded on the outside and the inside, and that way you get steel threads that are embedded into that block as opposed to pulling against aluminum ones. Now, in most cases, you don't really have a problem with those. It's the problem that you will have with them is if the engine got severely overheated and the head has to come off of it. Then what happens is when the head bolts are actually removed, to pull the head, you will wind up in a situation where it brings the threads with it, And then if you were to go back and try to put the head back on, you'd go to torque it down, and there wouldn't be nothing there to tighten up against. So, but I'm going to tell you right now, Paul, on a vehicle like that, no more miles on it than what's on that one. I don't think motor or transmission-wise is anything you probably will need to be too awful concerned with, other than, when you get a vehicle like that that's that old, it'd probably be a good idea to go ahead and service the cooling system, service the transmission, that sort of thing. But my main concern, because of where you're at, and we know that you all don't get any bad weather or salt on the roads. That's what I would be all over. Now, I'd want to get it up on a rack, and I'd want to look underneath this thing myself. And you need to do that. You need to call up an independent shop up there, tell them what you're considering buying. You just want to make sure that there's something left underneath the vehicle to give you a little service out of it. But call up an independent shop, tell them you don't want to be an annoyance, but you want to get that vehicle in there, kind of do a pre-purchase inspection, and you would really like to be able to take a peek underneath the vehicle just to see the condition of it before you buy it. Listen, it's worth a couple $100 to any shop to go through this and for your own peace of mind. But definitely take my advice on that. Paul, thank you so much for the call from Massachusetts. You have a great Thanksgiving.